When considering God as a designer instead of an imposed law construct, how does the summary death of Ananias and Sapphira in Acts look through that lens, or when Jesus cursed the fig tree, or when Israel wiped out whole cities in the Promised Land?
Okay, so there's multiple ones here to go by. First off, Ananias and Sapphira went to sleep. They went to sleep. If you understand Scripture, the wages of sin is sleep until I wake you from the sleep. That's what the wages of sin is?
No.
No, they did not die the wages of sin death. That was not punishment for sin. Even those who insist on the legal view, insist on the imperial view, do you believe that God punishes sin before your constructed judgment? Or we have to have judgment first before we can inflict the penalty? See? The judgment hadn't happened yet. It wasn't going to happen until 1844. So in that model, in that legal view, we can't have punishment for sin yet. It has to be something else going on. This is not punishment for sin. It's something else. Same thing in Old Testament times. The flood, not punishment for sin as an infliction from God. Sodom and Gomorrah, again, not punishment for sin as an infliction from God. These are all sleep deaths. All these people are rising again. We talk about this in one of our lectures, Answering Difficult Bible Questions, which is on one of our DVD sets. So what do we understand is happening here? Why is God putting certain people to sleep? Because God is working. In Old Testament times, why would he put people in the grave? Why would he do it? Well, after Adam and Eve sinned, was it possible for the species human to be saved without Jesus Christ? No. Without his incarnation, without a sinless life, without his death and resurrection? Could humanity be saved without that?
No.
No, it was a requirement. In fact, right there in Eden in Genesis 3, God tells the serpent, the seed of the woman is going to crush your head and you're going to bruise his heel. So does Satan know a Messiah is promised? Yes, he knows. And what does Satan do? Go on vacation? He gets busy trying to stop Messiah from ever arriving on planet Earth. How could he do it? Would God have Jesus born to a woman like Jezebel? Would he force a woman against her will to be the mother of Jesus? No. So how about if Satan gets every human heart to harden themselves against God? There's no avenue for Messiah to come. Well, you say that's impossible. Millions of people can never happen. Genesis 6. According to Genesis 6, one righteous man on the whole planet. One. Everyone else is hardened. One righteous man. And that's when God acts. As long as there was more than one, God hasn't done anything. Now there's one. God acts, puts the whole world asleep to keep open the avenue for Messiah. This wasn't punishment for sin. This was act of mercy and redemption and grace. Same thing with Sodom and Gomorrah and the 5 cities. Without Sodom and Gomorrah and the 5 cities, how many tribes of Israel were left at the time of Jesus? 2. You see, after the flood, God says, Abraham, through you I will realize the promise. You're the one who the seed is going to come. Satan doesn't have to attack all the peoples of the world anymore. He only has to destroy this one branch of the human family. If he can destroy this one branch, he shuts down avenue for Messiah. Without Sodom and Gomorrah and the 5 cities, 10 of the tribes are gone. My view is that God excised the minimum number of negative influences possible to keep open the avenue for Messiah. Ananias and Sapphira, the new church is just starting out, and Satan is going to try to crush it immediately. And if he can crush this new church with the infection of selfishness and exploitation and greed, then he again can crush what Christ has done from spreading. So God takes an action to put to sleep 2 people that actually was very powerful message to the early church. Again, not punishment for sin. Why the Old Testament? Why did he tell them to kill man, woman, children, and all so forth? If you look at the context, as they came out of slavery, God's plan, not their plan, I will send the pestilence before you. I will send the hornet before you. And little by little, as the other people abandon the land, you will assimilate it, and there was to be no war. That's God's plan. No war. But these are former slaves who've been abused. They now have power. Their God just completely devastated the most powerful nation on earth. They're feeling their might. They're feeling their oats. They really want to go for it. And God leaves us free to make our choices. They don't want to follow his plan. We're going to do it our way. And God said, okay, if you're going to insist on going to war, then I want the least amount of death. But God doesn't look in your time frame. God looks through the corridors of time. I want the least numbers of people to die by war. I want the least numbers of people to be traumatized by PTSD. So if you're going to do it, then kill them all. One generation, fewest number traumatized, killed by war, fewest number traumatized by such behavior, and then we have peace in the Middle East for 4,000 years. But instead, they didn't do that well either, and we're continuing to have ongoing conflict and war for 4,000 years. If you think, well, that's kind of unreasonable kind of conclusion, just look at how the Americans handled the American Indians. And see how we have not been in a civil war with the American Indians for 250 years. We wiped them out. I'm not saying it was godly. Right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it truncated the conflict and the killing.